Most people destroy intuition because they become emotionally attached to symbolism. They see one dream, one flash, one strange emotional image, and immediately lose objectivity. They chase certainty, they force meaning, they spiral into obsession. But higher level perception doesn't work through desperation. It works through stillness. Because third eye visions are not about fantasy. They're about resonance. The nervous system detecting emotional information before the conscious mind fully understands it. That's why the calm observer sees more clearly than the emotionally reactive person ever will. Do me a favor and leave me that faster review, and let's get into the podcast.
You guys are listening to the Mass Closet Show, a podcast for introverts to become more masculine and get the body of an alpha male, and of course, get more mentally healthy and get that seducer's mindset, if you get me. And lastly, I help guys become more desirable and get the mindset of a seducer. Let's get into the podcast.
Impressions through the veil. There's a moment that happens when the body becomes quiet, when focus narrows behind the bro, when emotional noise temporarily settles, and perception shifts into imagery. Not a hallucination, not escapism, impression. A symbolic rendering of emotional data, a face, a location, a repeated scene, a feeling wrapped inside visual form. Most people misunderstand these experiences because they immediately assume everything is literal. But perception rarely speaks in direct language. It speaks through symbol, through metaphor, through emotional architecture. The image itself is often less important than the feeling beneath it, because every vision reflects an emotional current already alive inside the system. That's the deeper layer most people miss.
We're into part 2 now. Symbol before literal. One of the most important rules in symbolic perception is symbol before literal. Always. A hallway may represent transition. A specific person may represent attachment, memory, longing, or unresolved emotion. A recurring environment may represent a psychological loop. A future feeling seen may represent intuitive pattern recognition before conscious logic catches up. The mistake people make isn't about what they're seeing in their third eye. The mistake they make is collapsing symbolism into certainty too quickly. That's where projection begins, and projection distorts perception. Emotionally reactive people interpret everything personally. Disciplined people observe patterns first. That emotional neutrality matters because calm perception produces cleaner interpretation. The desperate mind cannot read clearly. It can only force meaning. So brothers, I got right into the content, but this is all about third eye visions, okay? As I say all the time. Check the show notes and get into my fitness course, Alpha Body Blueprint Elite. Yes, you guys, it is an elite program indeed. Let's keep fucking going. The 3 inner channels. Symbolic perception tends to move through 3 internal channels. Not supernatural powers, no. It's more like sensitivity systems, ways the mind and body process emotional information beneath conscious awareness. The first one, Clairaudience, the auditory channel. This is the sound layer, an internal voice, a remembered phrase, a tone, a name repeating itself, a rhythm attached to emotion. Most people become obsessed with the exact words, but the real information exists beneath the language. What emotional signature does the sound carry? Warmth, distance, grief, comfort, pressure. Tone reveals more than vocabulary ever will. Next one, Clairvoyance, the visual channel. This is the image layer. Flashes, scenes, faces, gestures, moments that feel strangely familiar before they really happen. The subconscious often compresses emotional information into symbolic imagery because imagery moves faster than logic. This is why recurring visions matter more than the isolated ones. Repetition usually indicates emotional resonance, strengthening beneath conscious awareness. But again, symbol before literal. The image is not always predicting something. Sometimes it's revealing emotional truth through visual language. Now, last channel, Clairsentience, the somatic channel. This is the body layer, warmth, pressure, subtle tension, relaxation, temperature shifts, pulses in certain areas of the body. The body acts like a calibration system. It often reveals whether the perception is grounded or distorted by emotional projection. If the body stays calm while the imagery remains clear, that's usually a more coherent signal. But if urgency spikes, if fear appears, if obsession takes over, clarity begins collapsing into emotional distortion. The body always reveals the difference. Why people lose themselves in symbolism. Most people cannot handle symbolic perception because they need immediate certainty. They want every image to become proof, every sensation to become validation, every emotional impression to become destiny. That mindset destroys discernment because perception is subtle. It moves through patterns, impressions, emotional undercurrents, not rigid absolutes, if that makes sense. The healthiest approach is observation without attachment. Notice the symbolism. Study the emotional current. Remain grounded in reality. The moment symbolism becomes identity, clarity disappears. The observer state. The highest level of perception is not intensity, it's stability. The ability to observe imagery without spiraling emotionally. To notice symbolism without becoming dependent on it. To feel deeply without drowning inside the feeling. That requires internal discipline, because emotional chaos contaminates perception. Stillness sharpens it. The calmer the nervous system becomes, the easier it is to distinguish intuition from projection. That's the observer state. And without that state, symbolic perception becomes emotional theater instead of awareness. So guys, I'm about to actually wrap up this podcast, but do me a favor, check the show notes, okay? I have my free articles, about 200 now, that you can read, but I want to tell you what, you guys. This podcast today won't be for everyone, okay? Because a lot of people have a hard time understanding third eye visions, but if you just use that third eye more powerfully, you can tell what's real by what's just symbolism, okay? The point behind this content today, you guys, is to use that third eye you have in between both eyebrows. Now, let's keep moving forward. Third eye visions are not about escaping reality. They're about understanding the hidden emotional patterns already moving beneath it. Not fantasy, not delusion, not performance. Awareness. The ability to recognize resonance, I should say, without becoming consumed by it. Because real perception is not measured by how dramatic the vision becomes, but by how centered the observer remains while receiving it. So you guys, do me a favor and leave me that 5-star review, okay, brothers? And as I said, check out my free articles in the show notes, okay? Not to mention, you guys, I will be releasing some more podcasts like this one in the near future, so keep coming back.